Another day, another Labour MP suspended. Racism, sexism and anti-Semitism has been exposed within the Labour Party. A now former minister, Andrew Gwynne, has been sacked, and Burnley MP Oliver Ryan has now been suspended. Leaked WhatsApp messages include what appeared to be homophobic slurs, comments about someone sounding too Jewish, and even wishing death upon a pensioner. However, given Labour's policy to remove the winter fuel payment for thousands of vulnerable elderly people, you could be forgiven for wondering if that attitude goes right to the very top. But Gwynne said that he hoped an elderly pensioner would die before the next round of elections. That's the same man who pretended to care in front of the cameras.
We want managed immigration. We are leaving the European...
I'm not hearing an answer.
We are leaving the European Union.
Are you leaving the customs union?
We are leaving the European Union.
I asked him this last time.
Boris,
remember, I asked him this last time.
Boris, I'm sorry to say...
Yes. I'm so sorry. Go on.
Don't be a pillock.
Come on. You're leaving the customs union.
No, Boris.
You're not leaving the customs union.
Boris, can you please tell people...
Are you leaving the customs union?
Can you please tell the pensioners what is happening to their winter fuel allowance? How many of them are going to lose it?
I haven't heard. Well, that obviously is
10 million?
but that is
10 million?
That is
okay,
to be.
Mr. Johnson,
that is obviously.
That aged like warm milk, didn't it? But do you remember when Prime Minister Keir Starmer said this?
I invite you all to join this government of service.
Government of service. Well, a minister has just been sacked. Another MP has been suspended for essentially being vile. The former Transport Secretary, Louise Haigh, was forced to resign after it emerged she pleaded guilty to a fraud offence years ago, but had seemingly not told Starmer about that. We've had Donorgate, where Lord Ali flashed the cash for Keir Starmer and co., which meant that when Keir Starmer said this...
One of the great privileges of this job is getting to meet the hard-working people who make up the backbone of Britain.
All looks a bit rum, really, because he received more than £100,000 in tickets, freebies and gifts in a year, more than any other MP, and even used Lord Ali's, I think it was 18 million quid penthouse, as a revision station for his son to prepare for his exams. Nothing could be further away from the working class than that, could it? One Labour MP, Mike Amesbury, has been suspended and in fact prosecuted, actually, for battering one of his own constituents in a drunken late-night street brawl.
You won't ever threaten me again, will you? Ever threaten me again, will you?
Another Labour MP, Jas Athwal, was accused of being a rogue landlord and renting out flats with mould and ant infestations to poor tenants. The business secretary, Jonathan Reynolds, was caught up in a cash for croissants scandal that saw business leaders offered access to him at a breakfast event if they paid £30,000. Reynolds claimed he knew nothing about it. Labour's former anti-corruption minister, Tulip Siddiq, resigned after it emerged that she was embroiled in a massive corruption scandal. She vehemently denies any wrongdoing. And it turns out that Bangladeshi authorities have now widened their investigation into her and her family to 12 separate countries. Keir Starmer's former chief of staff, Sue Gray, remember her? She resigned. Then it emerged that Starmer reportedly tried to get the BBC to kill a story about the fact that she was paid more money than him. There appears to be some weird connection with Starmer's mates and giving the Chagos Islands away to Mauritius. Well, not so much giving it away, really, is it? More paying obscene amounts of money to give it away. His old mate, Philippe Sands, is the lawyer for Mauritius. We've had the Southport incident, where it turned out that Starmer knew all about Axel Rudakabana, his possession of an Al-Qaeda training manual, and the components for a biological weapon all along.
Yes, I knew the details as they were emerging. That is the usual practice in a case such as this. But you know and I know that it would not have been right to disclose those details.
I haven't even mentioned the rumours about whether or not Rachel Reeves essentially misled us all by saying she was an economist at the Bank of England.
Say that you'd worked at the Bank of England for a decade when in fact it was, well, it wasn't even 6 years, it was 5. I mean, that's exaggeration, isn't it?
Well, I worked at the Bank of England for 6 years, between 2000 and 2006. I was employed by the Bank of England, including I spent just over a year at the British Embassy.
Why did you say it was a decade?
Well, I think you're taking... it's one...
I mean, the list is absolutely endless. I could go on all night here. I could go on all night. And have you seen the woman that he's replaced the sacked Labour Health Minister Andrew Gwynne with? So she's called Ashley Dalton. She thinks that same-sex bathrooms should be banned and humans can identify as animals. So we have replaced someone who reportedly sent racist messages and wished death upon a pensioner with someone who thinks that she could identify as a penguin. It's mad, isn't it? Don't get me wrong, the Tories were pretty shambolic. But this is just different gravy, isn't it? I mean, it does appear, in my view, that the Labour Party is a circus full of wrong'uns. So that was my panel this evening. So here we go. We have got Daily Express columnist Carol Malone. We've got ex-Labour Party advisor Matthew Larzer, former chairman of the Tory Party, Sir Jake Berry. Carol, look, you're just dealing with the kind of news story of the day, as it were. These two Labour MPs, one being sacked and one being suspended. What do you make of those WhatsApp messages and what it may say about them?
Well, it kind of... what shines through them is the sneering contempt in which they hold the people who they purport to care for and purport to represent. I mean, they used to say the Tories were the nasty party, didn't they? This truly is the nasty party. They're racist, they're anti-Semitic, they're misogynistic, bigots. These are the people who spend their whole life complaining for diversity and equality and against hate speech. And here they are representing all of those things, the racism, the bigotry. I think, Labour used to be the authentic voice of working people. Now we see the disdain in which they hold them. You talked about the pensioner there who he said, he made some serious comment about, I got in without him voting for me and hopefully he'll be dead before the next one. Talked about hoping someone would be run over by a truck. It just shows the people who they lied to vote for them. This is what they think of them. They think they're fools and idiots.
OK, Matthew, because there is another side to this, which you might choose to put up, of course, which is that, private WhatsApp messages. The idea that Greater Manchester Police are potentially involved with this, I will say I'm not a fan of non-crime hate incidents, right? So, I will say apparently there's no active investigation. We're looking into whatever it is. But anyway, look, what do you think about this? Are we being a bit unfair on these two here?
Well, look, I think the messages were shocking. I mean, I've known Andrew Gwynn since I was 17, and we went to a Labour Party Young Socialists training weekend together where I first met him.
I won't ask.
Andrew is somebody who's been very committed to serving his community. He was a councillor. We actually ended up at university together, and he was a councillor then. And these comments are really shocking. And look, he has to. Both he and Oliver Ryan have to be held to the same standards as everybody else. We can't have two tiers. We can't have,
everywhere else.
Matty's got form for this. Back in 2018, he was part of another WhatsApp group that was sending anti-Semitic messages. His defence at the time was that he wasn't sending those messages. He didn't know he was part of the group. 3 weeks later, he was sending anti-Semitic messages.
Look, I mean,
he's got form for it.
I think it's very hard to defend it. Apart from saying that Andrew has spoken about his serious mental health problems, that's not an excuse, but it may be partly of an explanation. I don't think it's a rule the Labour Party holds
if his mental health issues make him racist and a bigot, well, then he shouldn't be a minister in this government. It was a big mistake to appoint him, nor should Louise Haig have been a minister. Who was the other one? And do you remember your party years ago, John McDonnell said he was talking about how he fantasised about killing Margaret Thatcher. Who are these people?
Yeah, well, John McDonnell is not from my section of the Labour Party, so and he's coming on
There's no section.
Matthew, because I want to hear him keep defending this absolute shower.
Well, so does Ofcom probably, but what do you make of this? I mean, these two MPs, OK, fine. Well, not fine, but you know what I mean. And there's everyone else I've just rattled off there, and it does appear to me... There's a clip, actually. I'll tell you what, I'll put this clip to you, right? So this is a clip of Angela Rayner being asked pretty directly whether or not she had said that Keir Starmer couldn't run a bath. Just see what you make of this.
A new book reports that you said he couldn't run a bath. Did you say that?
Well, I'm not, there's a lot of things that were said in that book that I don't recognise, to be honest.
All right, well, that's because he likes a shower, Patrick.
Right, that's because he likes to shower. I mean, that to me implies maybe that all is not well within the Labour Party.
Look, it does seem that they are lurching from crisis to crisis. And you rightly picked up, in all fairness, Patrick, the challenges that my party, the Conservative Party...
it was a bit shambolic.
It took us 14 years to be that bad. The Labour Party, is it 8-9 months that they've been in?
Yeah.
They've lost minister after minister after minister. And, it's just a complete mess, isn't it? What I think is really interesting about these WhatsApp messages is the reason none of us would like our WhatsApp messages and messages to basically friends to be published, is because that's the space in which we're really honest, isn't it? We're probably a bit too honest in many cases, and we'd be embarrassed if some of our messages were publicised. What it does, it's a window into the true heart of the Labour Party.
Absolutely.
What they really think.
Yeah.
They don't care about pensions. And if you're at home, you might have thought, why would they get rid of the winter fuel allowance? It's clear from these messages. It's because you don't vote for them, they don't care for you. Why would the Labour Party allow week after week these hate marches to take place in London, allegedly pro-Palestine? It's because there's a massive problem with anti-Semitism in the Labour Party. And I remember under Jeremy Corbyn, when they did have a huge problem with anti-Semitism, it was Andrew Gwynn, week in, week out, who was sent to the House of Commons, I know I was there, to defend Jeremy Corbyn, to say we're not an anti-Semitic party. You see the window into his soul, the true window into the Labour Party. They're racist. They don't care about
absolutely.
They don't believe in Britain.
Would I floated the question there, Matthew, that maybe rattling off all of the different incidents that we've had there, whether it was in the business secretary and the cash for croissants thing, which he denies any knowledge of, to Lord Ali, to Juliet Sadiq, to all of these people, that maybe the Labour Party is actually a nest of wrong-uns.
No, I don't think it's a nest of wrong-uns at all. I mean, look, in all political parties, there are bad apples. I mean, I know it's a cliché, but it's a cliché because it's true. I mean, we can name the former Tory MP for Wakefield who went to jail for crimes, if I'm not mistaken, who was with you when you were an MP, Jake. I mean, because, of course, people do things that are wrong. Political parties are broad churches.
You don't do anti-Semitism.
No, I'm not saying it's right.
Not a mistake.
I'm saying, I don't think it's a mistake.
But,
I think it's wrong.
But the difference was what you're describing and Starmer. This is a man who sets himself up as the moral titan of the nation. He says his party are the champions of human decency.
And
that's why this is so sickening and
he
so
sacked him.
And they're spitting on the people who voted for him.
He sacked him. And Oliver...
OK, he sacked him. But is he going to sack him as an MP? He's going to get rid of him as an MP? No,
well, at the moment he's not a Labour MP. He can't do that, Carol. It's up to him. If he's suspended from the Labour Party...
Starmer can make him go.
Well, they could say step down as an MP. Yeah. Although they don't have the ability to force him, it would be very hard for him to remain.
And you know why he won't?
I want you to say there's a few bad apples. Tell you what, there's a lot of bad apples, and the barrel's already looking rotten, isn't it?
I mean, there's a lot of MPs at the moment, so there's a percentage. There's a lot of Labour MPs.
We're actually just talking about the ministers. We haven't even got going on the MPs yet. These are the people Keir Starmer has literally chosen, the best of the best, he'd tell us, the best people to represent Labour Party, and it's falling round and round.
Just on that, Matthew, because the person that he's chosen to replace Andrew Gwynn with believes that gender isn't a real thing, that any of us could identify as a penguin if we wanted to, or a llama.
The health minister who reportedly unsuccessfully sued the NHS for £145,000.
Well, I wasn't aware of that, so I couldn't possibly comment. But
reportedly.
But Matthew, is that the best he's got? Does he have to choose? I mean, is that what we're dealing with here? That you scratch the surface, Andrew Gwynn has gone because of the messages, so that's that. But then the replacement is to be a health minister, someone who doesn't believe in biology.
So I don't think that makes her a wrong un. I mean, I personally, I haven't seen her tweets about the llama and the penguin. So I will look those up. But I mean, yesterday people were saying that she was going to get the job because she was Wes Streeting's PPS, which is not a minister, but it's the one just below where you liaise with backbenchers. And apparently she was doing a great job. I mean, she's very committed. She's facing health challenges herself. She's got breast cancer, and so she's experienced the NHS at first hand. So let's see what she's like as a minister. But I disagree with you on gender.
These people are odious. And how many more WhatsApp groups like theirs are running currently as we speak?
I hope none.
I suspect this is not the only one. But to have these people should not be let anywhere near public life. Nowhere near it.
I think Andrew's comments are absolutely wrong. Most of the group was actually a group of moderates who I mean, one of the things is they called people on the left trots, as in Trotskyites.
Why did it take them years to report him then? If you say these are moderate people, so is this acceptable in Labour Party? WhatsApp?
And that's why
racism, anti-Semitism, wishing death on your constituents.
And Keir Starmer,
so why did it take
But it's a
years,
recurring theme as well.
To report them?
Keir Starmer has changed the Labour Party.
Well, he hasn't.
No, he hasn't.
There are scores of people
scores of people who are members of WhatsApp group and prepared to see people speak like this about their constituents.
Jake, it's a zero-tolerance approach. When any evidence emerges of any anti-Semitism or any other form of racism, people are suspended instantly, investigated, and then kicked out. I mean, you know, I doubt that Andrew's going to be returning to the Labour Party, and that seems to me the right course of action. But the inquiry's got to finish.
Do you not think there's an irony in the fact that the Labour Party are forever pushing diversity and equality and all that, and yet here they are, just bastardising the concepts of all of that?
I mean, I think hypocrisy.
Bad-mouthing Diane Abbott, but a black MP, the mother of that, bad-mouthing her. This is one of their own.
Criticise Diane, but not on the basis of her race or her gender. I mean, I don't agree with a lot of what Diane says. So I mean, that's
about equality as well, isn't it? That's having a go at a woman.
You don't want to defend this, do you?
I'm not.
You don't want to defend this. This shambles that is the Labour Party. The Labour spokesman on this panel. I am not. You cannot even bring yourself.
I am not defending those comments because they were wrong. What I am defending is Keir Starmer's response. He sacked him as a minister. He suspended him from the Labour Party.
You need to make a point.
All right. Okay. Well, right. Lots to chew over there. I think at some point in the melee, someone might have said that John McDonnell was still a Labour MP. I believe he's had the whip suspended.
He has, yes.
Yeah, fine. But hey, right, there we go.